I guess we're super good to continue our energetic conversation here today. And we have another good one.
His eye dropped, Nobody got any idea.
We have another super important topic to discuss when it comes to digitalization of fashion, innovation of fashion. It's about AI. And by no means think that there is a mistake in the title. It shouldn't be paving the way. It should be AIving the way, because we're talking about AI, the expression of fashion, meaning of AIving the way for luxury brands. And I'm super happy that today on the panel, I have some of the very best people in the space, people coming from traditional fashion. We have Chat Labs. We have Michael here for Chat Labs to discuss how AI is innovating traditional fashion houses. We have Medved from one of the leading Web3 media, NFT Now, to look at the perspective of AI innovating fashion from media and being an OG in Web3 space. And we have a very digital solution, my dear friend Artem from Genera, here today with us. Guys, the first question I'm going to ask all of you, just like I do with every panel, it's early morning, but how are you feeling? How are you feeling today, my friend?
I'm good. I'm energized. I didn't make it too late yesterday, so I'm ready to roll. Let's go, Nikki.
I know that Matt perhaps was the only one who was sporting just a bit yesterday, but you still look fresh. You still look good, man. You ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready. Yesterday was fun. I think I did, it was like 4 panels, was it? Hosted people for the live every day, which is really special. Did a fireside chat on the future of media and everything we're building at Now Media with Sovereignty and the Now Network. And then I did hosted panels with Nyankat and Grant Yoon. So I was supposed to do an ordinals panel in there too, but they double booked it. So, but today this is my main event. So I'm fresh, I'm ready, I'm straight from the Uber and ready to go.
Straight from the Uber. Yeah. I love this. Artem.
Hello.
You feeling good?
Absolutely. And so I'm trying to just keep my energy. I'm limited with some context in this conference. And so I think that we know what we want, and I'll try to show something interesting. Thank you for this beautiful company. Thank you for these beautiful gentlemen on the one stage. So I'm ready. Let's go.
I do believe that by no means there is any extra pressure on you, but actually some kind of delightfulness, because you're based in Lisbon, and today you're presenting at a local conference here, NFC Lisbon. We can say almost kicking off the fashion stage for day 2, which is amazing. And I do believe that we're gonna kick it off with a very controversial question from my side. At least that's how I look at it. Guys, I want to start by asking you the following. Is it AI that needs us, or is it us that need AI in 2024? To paraphrase this question, how well established is AI industry when we're talking about fashion, luxury? Is it that it's here and you just take and use it, or is it something different? Matt, I see that you're super energized.
Ready to go. Let's go.
Go for it.
Okay, so great question. A few things to unpack there. So one of the things that when we talk about AI, especially in how we think about it at Now Media, we think about it, we always call it augmented intelligence, right? It's about enabling humans to automate the things that are rote, routine, tedious, boring, etc., to enable humans to focus more on the things that only uniquely humans can do, right? And so it's not about like, when people talk about, are we going to be replaced by AI? It's like, no, but some of the things that you do maybe, and that may actually be a good thing, because that will allow you to focus on what you're best at. For example, in the media space, I think that like where we really shine is our features, right? Like we love to do the storytelling of humans, all that. AI still can't do that yet. AI can't interview someone, bring it all together, and weave it together into a narrative feature. Not yet, right? But AI can turn a press release into a news article. You know what I mean? And so what we'll do is we'll leverage it for those sorts of things. So I think when you think about how that kind of concept of removing the things that are pretty easy, standard, that can be automated to be able to focus on what's uniquely yours. Think about that in the fashion industry. You think about that in the luxury industry. I mean, I still think it's quite early about the integration of AI into these industries, but I think things are moving fast, right? We are seeing a lot of the major luxury houses. We're seeing massive brands like Nike embracing AI, using it to streamline customer experience, to predict data trends. So many elements there. So in terms of who needs this, who needs it more? I mean, right now I think maybe we need it more, because we're still at this early stage where we're doing a lot of things. We're understanding that the way of traditionally doing things may not be the way that we do things in the future, right? And so I think AI helps us do this. And as long as we kind of keep that again, we really always go back to this idea of augmented intelligence. It's like, how does this make us better? How does this make us more efficient? And how does this make us able to do more of the things that only we can do?
You already shared a couple of examples of traditional brands joining the AI train of innovating, digitalizing fashion space, luxury space. And I believe there is no other brand right now, other than Chat Labs, who can share this perspective from working with some of the biggest traditional fashion houses. I'm talking directly about LVMH. I know that you guys are working with almost all of these brands, and we're not just talking about fashion. We're also talking about something that is above fashion. So AI in traditional brands, AI in traditional world has been for you there for a long time. Otherwise, you wouldn't be that successful. Otherwise, you wouldn't work with LVMH houses. But do you also believe that it's us who needs AI, or is it something different?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, just to shed a bit of light on what we're doing. So we've been working with the LVMH group, the Karen group, for over a year. Last year, we won the AI award at VivaTech, and we've been rolling out with all of the different brands. So the Louis Vuitton, Dior, Tiffany, some great use cases. We've built our own model, and our own model is not centered around language or 3D or imagery. It's about customer experience, so customer journeys. So we're training models on what is the perfect consumer journey for the luxury brands, and how do we use content and experience and creativity a lot more when we are talking to the consumer through the digital space. So that's what we've been doing so far with the LVMH group and with Kering, etc. In terms of does it need us or do we need it? I think it's a synergy. So obviously, first, the thing needs to be born, right? So we're really at the stage of foundational models in all of the different domains, in the domains of language, imagery, customer journeys, in our case. And that's sort of the first step that we're in. And they need us because we need to train the systems with all the different data, and we need to amplify that data with the insights that we as humans give, right? So it's we train the models also based on the human inception. But I think, and then we're going now into the stage of application. So probably the LLMs, etc., they're going to get commoditized, but all the value is going to sit really in the application layer. So that happened with cloud and stuff as well. Like first people built the infrastructure. Oh, now you can build apps straight on the cloud. Then you have different verticals, and now you can have Shopify that is for $80 a month. You can have an e-commerce website, whilst 20 years ago that cost $10 million, right? So really, we're at the early stages. There's sort of a split in the industry on how they think about it. It's like there's a camp that thinks the language models can get to the point of world understanding, and then there's the camps that don't, like Jan LeCun from Medved often says, right, I can train a teenager to drive a car in 21-hour sessions, but if I have thousands of cars with all the telemetry and all the compute on board like Tesla, I still can't teach it the world model and teach it to drive, right? So there's a lot that still needs to happen, but I'm really excited about it. And I'm particularly excited about the AI models going into robotics and that field merging, because then the AI models can actually experience the world rather than just getting it taught through descriptions, right? Like, what is it like for it learns from language, an apple falls from a tree, but without the telemetry and weight and feeling of gravity, that's a whole different perception than what language can teach you, for example.
I love that you highlighted the fact that we're still super early, but the basis is already there. And all these next layers to make it easier for mass adoption, to make it more efficient for users to be used, to be consumed. It's just a matter of time when we get there. And I do believe that Chat Labs is one of the solutions that is making it more efficient, easier for brands on the one side and customers on the other side to use. Just like Genera, in my opinion, the most realistic AI that is there on the market. And I know that it doesn't come that easily. I know that you, Artem, has a huge experience in immersive world, in 3D modeling. So I do believe AI modeling, AI representation of looks, of fashion, this was a logical step for you. What is your take on where are we right now? At which stage of AI development are we right now?
Okay, so last 15 years we are work with the 3D images, with the hyper-realistic images for the different domain, for architectural, for films, for commercial, for gaming. And so just some history about ourselves. And 1.5 years ago, we are found a technology that can make scan of your body, scan of your face, and make the twin of me in AI space. AI twin. And when we started to thinking how we can use this technology for some kind of industry, we realized that fashion is really good industry. Why? Because in a digital space, fashion brand it's my opinion, have a huge gap between fashion brand and consumers. Now fashion brands using just some images and videos for communication with the consumers, but it's just one-way channel for communicate. And the question was how we can make this gap more smaller and how we can connect brand and consumer. And we realized that our twins can be part of the brand, or brand can be part of the twins of Genera. So we are using this technology to digitalize the twins, create the twins, digitalize apparel, and put them in one Genera space. So, and now they can iterate between each other. And this is how we can make brand more close to the consumer. So this is our way and this is our concept. And when we show this technology to the brand, we tell, well, so you can use it for different kind of use cases. So you can use it for try-on system, for example. You can use it for some gamification. You can use it for iteration. And we was very surprised when they tell us that, wow, this looks very cool. And in the same time, we can use it even for content production. And that's something new. And my opinion regarding the AI, that's not AI not using us. We are still using AI for like a co-pilot or for like the system that can improve consumer way for iteration with the brands. So we can use it for decrease the costs for production, etc. So for me, that's a really good co-pilot. And so that's a tool for me that can make the gaps between the consumers' brands more smaller. So for me, that's all about the optimization. That's some kind of new interface.
Narrowing down the gap when it comes to creating, once again, this efficient, effective user-friendly journey between brands on one side and customers on the other side, I do believe there is no need to ask you the question whether AI is one of the biggest things that happened to fashion, to luxury space, because yes, it is. If not the biggest, then definitely one of the biggest things that happened in the last decade. But one thing that I want to ask you though, and let us start specifically with the case of Chat Labs, because once again, you have a huge portfolio of La Maison LVMH working with many brands, traditional brands who have huge heritage, brands who need to stick to their DNA to be themselves throughout all this technological advancement, throughout all this new generation coming to the market. So the question I have, isn't AI moving this idea of sticking to your DNA, to your brand's DNA, or is it actually somehow helping?
So all of the maisons they're using it to do even better what they're already planning to do, right? When we talk to LVMH, when we talk to either the technical teams, the operational teams, the creative teams, the marketing teams, they all share the same, still sell the same values, right? We want to have operational excellence is one of the things from LVMH. Like technology helps, AI technology helps them there in like order processing and producing the right amount of goods and getting it to the customer on time, et cetera, et cetera. On the marketing side, we're helping them. They have a huge focus on a personal touch in marketing and digital experiences. And currently, like the website's the same for everybody. Emails are pretty much the same for everybody, right? And they want to tailor down to the individual, understand the individual's needs in that specific moment, and tailor their entire offering and brand storytelling to them. So they're trying to excel there. Obviously, on the creative ties, I'll let him answer, but they're using as a creative assistant. So they're really sticking to the core values that they have around excellence, around creativity, around personal experience, about highest possible levels of service, because all of those things combined is what makes a brand luxury. And the main thing that they're doing is to look at where can AI not just replace the simple task, but also where can it do things that we as human cannot do. For example, in the marketing space where we sit, if you as a marketer had to do a messaging or email communication, but you wanted to personalize it down to the individual, and you have 55 million followers on Instagram, right? You can't get a marketer to write 55 million individual messages based on what that consumer is interested in on. But we can train a model on all of the different groups, and we can train a model on all the different types of communication that you could do, and we can let them activate it on the channel as an AI service for the marketer. So there's on one side, there's doing the things better, and then there's on the other side, there's even extending the realm of possibilities of what you can do with your brand using AI.
Artem, even though you don't have a direct access to all the maisons at LVMH, at least yet, let's put it this way, I know that you have been very closely working with many brands on your side. I know that there is some big news, big announcements coming soon, but I want to ask you the same question. I want to ask you the same question to understand what is your take on working with traditional brands. What is your take on their perspective of AI already now in 2024?
So I think that the biggest problem of traditional brands that is this operation speed inside of the company. So they have a huge gap between the design idea and moment when this product will be on the market. So, and the period, it can be from the 6 to 8 months. And it's a huge period. And during this time, you can so see that paradigm can change, and it's a big problem. This is why the big legacy brand now has a problem with the business model, because it's too long to have the feedback from the market, to have the feedback back from the consumers. And when we are thinking how we can improve some business processes for the brand, we understand that with the generative AI, with the images that we generate, we can make this gap more shorter. For example, you can imagine that it's a real case. So our technology can scan all collection of the brand and make our own AI model that can generate the very, very similar designs that the brand has right now. But in the same time, we can make some small tunes, change, and create another new product from the brand, but with the DNA of the brand. And we can very easy and very fast put this product on the market and have the feedback immediately. And in this case, we can make this gap that now can take 6 or even more months shorter. So this means that during the 1 or 2 weeks, we can create a line of products, put this on the market in hyper-realistic quality, get the feedback, and iterate the collection, and create the collection that works well and much better with audience. So I think that AI, generative, and of course, if we're talking about the data, can help the brands have the more strong connection with audience and make the changes more quickly and have the business result more efficiently. So this is how I'm looking at this.
Also talking about use cases, I know that after this panel, you're going to have a keynote when you're going to share with the audience how Genera AI solution actually works and how hyper-realistic is it and why brands are looking for something like this. But one thing that you mentioned is something that I fully agree with, because I have been facing this, let's say, problem, which is sometimes also an opportunity that brands, for traditional brands, it takes a lot of time to adapt something, to adjust for something, to try something new. It's much easier with startups, right? It's much easier with smaller brands. And I know that whenever there are big news for startups adopting AI solutions, this man out here and NFT Now are the first ones who are getting this exclusive news. I remember back in December of last year, January, when you launched the exclusive news about DressX bringing their AI solution. And there's a lot of other cases like this, both in Web3, in Web2. What is your take, Matt, on AI somehow evolving the DNA of the brand, or maybe just being a part of it for traditional brands?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. So I'm a big believer that AI is probably the most significant technological development of our lifetime since the development of the internet, since the creation of the internet. I think it's going to be incredibly far-reaching, both from like a consumer-facing side and B2B industry-wise. In terms of like transforming human creativity, I think it's an absolute game changer, and we're seeing this already. Like people who otherwise did not think that they could be like fashion designers are designing couture, right? With the help of AI. It's like, you know, Claire Silver, who's an artist in the NFT space, who actually just released a project with Braindrops, an AI generative fashion project. She said it really well. She was, you know, I remember having her on the NFT Now podcast 2-3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. And like, you can actually, if you go to this podcast, you can like watch me have this like epiphany in real time, right? Where she said like, curation is the new skill, right? And it's like, you know, it's empowering people to be able to bring their ideas to life in ways that weren't possible before. That's really powerful. That's transformative in terms of unlocking human potential. And so like one of the things that we're seeing is, I think like there's an incredible amount of like creative energy that's coming from the space that's being unlocked by these tools, by people who didn't necessarily feel like they had a voice or the skill set that they needed to be a part of that. I think that's really exciting. I think from like a B2B side, you know, when it comes to the industry, like you asked, is this changing the DNA of brands? I don't know that it's changing their DNA, but I think what it's doing is it's allowing them to, I think it might have been what you said before, which is do what they do, continue to do it, but do it much better, like harder, better, faster, stronger, much more efficient, and being able to take it like to the next level, right? Because all of these things that used to take a lot of manpower, used to take a lot of human hours, used to also be subject to human error and human limitations, can be done in seconds now, right? And so what do we do with that potential? What do we do with that time that we're regaining? What do we do with that energy that we're conserving, right? Well, I think you do more of what you're naturally good at. You do more of what your vision is for your brand, right? You do more of the things that you wish you could be doing when you weren't having to do all of these things, right? And so I think that's very, very powerful. I think that also we're still, I think we're still wrapping our heads collectively around just how transformative this technology will be. One of the things, when we, you mentioned kind of like the coverage that we do, we launched 2 verticals, last year, in the past year or two. Now Runway, our digital fashion and luxury vertical, and then we launched Now AI, focused more on the intersection of AI and the creator economy, because I think that's just, you're just feeling it, you're seeing it every day. But it still feels like we're only scratching the surface of the potential there. And so, when I think about how these brands are kind of like implementing this, when I think about how these brands are working into their workflow, AI, like, it will never be less sophisticated than it is right now. Like, these models got smarter while we started this conversation. You know what I mean? Like, and so, like, I think even like our understanding of how AI can change how we do business, can change how how businesses interact and create value with their consumers, I think is also still limited by our understanding of the current state of AI, which is still quite nascent. I think when we zoom out, we're going to look at this as the early innings. And, I think some of the things that we've touched on here, I think the rise of like autonomous agents is going to be absolutely fascinating, especially in terms of like brand placement and like building up these kind of like loyalty and trust with like these sort of chat platforms and chat bot models. People are going to be going to those more than they're going to Google search. People are going to be going to those more than they're going to, some of these other like previous trusted sources, right? We're already seeing this happen in the media space. One of the reasons why when we founded Now Media, we've had since day one, 2021, 0 programmatic ads. We don't use pixels. We don't track our users. We believe in privacy. We kind of saw where the puck was going, and now you see like Google search is essentially like is completely unrivaled because people are going to ChatGPT instead, and they'll have their like AI summaries at the top now and all of that. So this is something that is like shifting the sands very rapidly. I think a lot of things are developing that perhaps some people have foreseen for some time, but I also think that as this continues to develop and it continues to compound, we're gonna come to terms with just a very different world. Something I'm really excited about, because I'm a big like techno optimist. I believe that technology has always driven human creativity forward, but like buckle up, right?
I mean, like, one thing that we promised our audience here today is to have this deep dive into the topic of AI, how AI is innovating the fashion space, how AI is helping luxury houses to narrow down this gap between the brand heritage, as we just discussed, and the customers themselves, customer journey, customer satisfaction. And the best thing about this conversation here today is that all of you can hear perspective from different industry leaders. We have traditional brands here. We have media here. We have digital space out there. But I do believe I cannot leave you guys from this panel without asking this very last question. Very briefly, based on your interaction with AI that you shared with us before, what is the downside of AI? Is there going to be a point of time in life when we regret depending on AI that much, when we regret integrating AI in our life that much? And once again, let's have a hypothesis that in 10 years from now, AI will be in almost every interaction. Whenever you message someone, whenever you have your clients at store, whenever you do online purchases, whenever you have deliveries or whatsoever, is there going to be a point of time when we actually regret about it, or you don't think so? Matt, let's start with you this one.
I know. Thank you. No, I'll take it on. So here's the thing. As I mentioned, I am a techno optimist. Like I'm a big believer that technology has always driven human creativity forward. That doesn't, and that's for better or for worse, right? And there are downsides to every technology, right? There are downsides to the internet, right? That doesn't mean that the development of the internet wasn't a good thing for humanity, right? And so I think it's the same thing with AI. I think it's the same thing with every technology. It can be used for good. It can be used for bad. It's going to impact us in ways that can be good. It can also be bad. And you know, at the end of the day, we as a species are going to have to adapt to that, right? Because there's no really turning back the clock, right? This is not Dune with the Butlerian Jihad, where we can just destroy all the computers and like go back to how it was before. Like that's not happening, right? So what's interesting for me is like, I'm less concerned about these sort of like dystopian ideas of like, you know, computers taking over and all of that. And I'm thinking a little bit more, how do we integrate this in a healthy way into our daily lives in a way that doesn't make us lazy? Doesn't like just make us reliant on crutches, right? Like, how do we do this in a way that actually unlocks our potential rather than just like outsources it? And so, like, for example, I think about like in my daily life, like I went from, you know, if a couple of years ago, like barely touching AI to I use AI every day now. I use it almost every hour, probably, you know what I mean, in my daily workflow and things like that, just to optimize things, to do things that, you know, otherwise would have taken time. But at the end of the day, I find myself kind of navigating this balance of like, well, I'm a writer. I come from writing, right? And so I grew up writing both creatively, journalistically, all these things. And if a day comes where I rely on ChatGPT to do all of my writing, then what am I, right? And at the end of the day, ChatGPT can't write the way I can, right? And so, but that doesn't mean that I can't use it as a creative tool. That doesn't mean that I can't leverage its potential to help me be a better writer, right? And help me be able to focus on the things I want to write versus the things I have to write because we need this to be written, right? And so that's, I think there's parallels to that in almost every industry. It's like, all right, what's the thing that only you uniquely can do? What's the thing that you enjoy doing? What's your like the intersection of like basically it's like your point of strength. It's like you're like when you think about being in the zone, what's that for you? How do you use AI to remove everything else? How do you use AI to remove all the things that you don't want to do, all the things that is competing for your attention, that is sapping your strength and all of your energy there? If you can navigate that balance personally, I think there's tremendous upside. The dangers I see in that is becoming so overly reliant on it that like, you know, thinking and critical thinking, a skill like writing, that's a muscle, and that will atrophy if you don't do it yourself. And so if you just become reliant on these programs to do it for you, you're going to find it very difficult to return to the arena if you know when needed. And so I ultimately think the development of AI will be seen as a good thing for humanity, but it's not going to be painless, and it's going to have tremendous change that some are going to perceive negatively. Again, this happens with every technology. This happens with every development of technology, from internet to the printing press to the internet to the blockchain and beyond. Pros and cons, but ultimately, I think it's helping us towards a better future.
Be honest with us, Matt. Did AI write your script for today's panel?
I wish. I wish it probably would have been a little more concise and to the point.
So Miri is saying we're already here and we just need to adapt for it. What about traditional brands?
I'm equally optimistic about the future. I think we're going to end up in a society of abundance if we have all these agents doing all this interesting work. I think we'll also have to relook at all of ourselves and like what is our purpose in life. I think it's going to be more towards what do you enjoy doing versus what you have to do. For example, I love cooking, but there are a lot better chefs out there than I am. But just because something or someone or something can do something better doesn't mean that I should do it, right? And I think we're going to have a lot more of that in the future. My biggest concern really is speed, like the coming of the mobile phone, the coming of the internet, right? The that took years and years, and we all got to adapt and learn what it is to have a mobile phone and what it is to be able to Skype someone at the end of the world. But the technology that we're doing now is moving at a pace that we've never ever seen before, and I think many of us aren't ready for that yet. So that's, I think, in the short term it's going to be painful. In the long term it's going to be beneficial. I'm particularly worried actually about things like the education system, right? Like I have a 10-year-old, I have a 6-year-old. They asked me to come and teach at the school to, like, all right, tell these kids what AI is, and I also look at their curriculum for the next 10 years, and like I'm worried at the moment for my kids, because I'm like, what the things that are teaching our kids at school now and how they're teaching it, I don't think that will get my kids ready for the world that they will enter in like 6-10 years, right? And we don't even know what that world's going to look like, but I know it's going to look a lot different from what they're teaching them in terms of skills, etc. in school. So I'm worried about those kind of things and the speed that we're going. I hope we can all really come together, and as these changes come, tackle them as a global society, less divided, all focusing on the problem areas ourselves, and stop trying to kick the shit out of each other in all the countries. I think that's a stupid waste of time. So let's band together and tackle these challenges as we go and create a better future for the kids.
Traditional brands are optimistic if we have the right education and if we build something scalable, fast, efficient. Artem, no pressure at all, just a closing word.
Very short idea. So, of course, I'm absolutely agree with the guys about the future of AI, and we understand, everybody understand that AI can improve of our life, can speed up the processes, can make our life is easy. And so, the main question for me, what we will do in this new life. So, I think that for everybody of us, that's a big opportunity to communicate more close between each other in real life. I'm talking about the communication between you and me, for example, you and me. And for me, this is the biggest impact that AI can bring to humanity. So we can release a lot of free time that we can use to real life iteration. That's all.
I mean, only the time will show how successful, how efficient, how user-friendly is AI, whether it's going to be in a year, in 5, in 10. But the fact remains, AI has been heavily integrated into luxury world, into fashion world for the last couple of years, if not more. And all of these people out here are pushing the boundaries of the industry by working directly with some of the biggest, some of the strongest fashion brands and showing them how it should be done, by covering it, by educating people, by spreading the word, making sure that AI has a positive meaning, and by creating some innovative solutions, something that brands would love to use now, in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now, not just the boring stuff that will be out there. The best thing that all of you can do to follow the journey of AI is to follow each of them individually, have a chat after the panel. Other than that, guys, you're amazing. I expected nothing less than high energy and positivity from all of you. AI is the way. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone who joined us today.
Thank you very much.